we are literally serving the public all the way through all ages. And it's exciting. Has its challenges, but it is exciting.
I'd probably say you guys are probably the most popular of all the departments within the city of Bakersfield.
Well, we often say we're the best department in the city of Bakersfield, but don't let anybody on the rest
No,
of the
we
city
will.
hear that.
We will. Hopefully, nobody else is listening.
We do have an opening in our bonsai class if you're interested in that. We have bonsai.
We're talking about the trees like from Karate Kid, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I may need to go out there and work on my bonsai skills. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Something Better Podcast. This is Eric Galvan with the City of Bakersfield. I am here today with Recreation and Parks Director Darin Budak. Darin.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
How are you doing?
Doing well.
Are you good physically, first off? Are you okay?
I've been better. Recently had some surgery on the shoulder, but I'm on the mend.
Okay, you've been doing a little too much work with our parks out here, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to be done. We're getting it done.
Yes, there's definitely a lot going on. That's why we brought you on. First off, the big one that was announced was the park at Riverwalk. We are getting some brand new playground equipment. That is a long time coming. According to your team, we've had original equipment over at Riverwalk. That opened in 2006, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that's original equipment. It's been in there 20 years now, and normal life cycle on a playground's anywhere from 12 to 15 years, so we've definitely got our money worth out of there. And then also we're going to make some major improvements over there, not only modernizing the equipment, but adding some play elements that are new and exciting. We're going to have some added shade that we don't have out there now, so that's a major improvement out there. So it's definitely warranted, and we're finally going to get it done.
Yeah, and it kind of makes that sort of thing, the playground, a little more. You get a little more year-round usage when you have the shades over them. I know you've done that a lot with a handful of parks over the last few years, putting shades over them. Bakersfield, as everybody knows, gets a little warm during the summertime, during the springtime, even bleeding into early fall sometimes. So getting that extra shade will definitely help, right?
Absolutely. And that's something that come on about, I'm going to say about 15 years ago, where we started making it a requirement of new playgrounds, and when we go in and retrofit them, that we will provide this shade, for the safety. There's additional use, the sunscreen, for the children, and then also the fact that it expands the use of them. It protects the plastic, it expands the life of the playground itself, not only in the use, but it's better for the playground.
Yeah, one of the things too, I was looking at the renderings of Riverwalk. You get a more modern feel. You get that. What's the surface that you guys lay down there?
Okay, so what's that? It's called a poured in place. It's basically a rubber surface, and it meets our all the ADA requirement stuff. But it's also a great surface for just all accessibility, and then it meets all it's called HIC, the head impact continuum, for falling off the playground and stuff. So it's not only an access for ADA, it's also a fall protection for use of the playground.
Yeah, I think about when I was a kid, and me and my friends, we were rough when we'd play up playgrounds, and we're just dumb kids being dumb kids. And that sand. Sure, you walk through, it's a little soft, but it is not. There's not a lot of break with sand. But that rubberized stuff, I've walked on that at some of our parks too, and that I would much rather fall onto that than the sand.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a unique challenge for us, because the sand is also a play element. The kids get in there and they play in the sand and stuff, so we don't want to completely take out all the sand, because it does add an element to it. But one of the things we have done in the recent years is the city is trying to, about every 6 to 8 playground that we renovate, we're making them 100% ADA. So we're exceeding the minimum requirements for our poured in place, and we do the entire surface in poured in place, which provides, like I said, access to 100% of the amenities.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I know, and I deal with a lot of the social media, and I'm reading the comments, and people always ask that, like, what are you doing for those who need that access? Mm-hmm. And we are getting ahead of that by, you said you're not just meeting the minimum requirement, you're going above that. How important is that for us to be able to do that, make these things more accessible to everybody?
Well, you can see in a lot of the efforts that we're doing now, that's absolutely essential for us, and we've really led the charge, I would say, in most communities. We've exceeded the minimum requirements on every single playground that we've done. We never do the absolute minimum. We do 2/3, so we're always doing more than we have to. But it's a key element for us to make sure we provide that accessibility, and not only the accessibility, but also the interaction with different play elements that are in there. For depending on what disability is, is it sight, is it hearing, is it mobility? We try to build elements into the playground to add. Play value to various.
So give me okay. So let's go. Let's back up here a little bit too, because I kind of skipped over this. You're not even at a year yet as Rec and Parks director. Are you coming up on a year?
I'll be coming up on 2 years in August. Yeah. So.
Geez, really? Has it been that long? My bad, Darin.
Yeah, no problem.
I just see you every day, and I just kind of assume like, okay, just it all blurs. As we get older, things start to blur, and you forget about days and times. You're like, oh, Darin just took over just like a couple months ago, right? No, so you're coming up on 2 years.
I'll take that as a compliment.
No, it is the greatest compliment. How long have you been with the city of Bakersfield?
I've been with them. It'll be almost 20. It'll be 20 years next year.
Okay, all right. Well, congratulations on that 20-year anniversary coming up, and I will not forget that.
Okay.
I will remember that one. That'll stick with me. How have you seen things change over your 20 years here in Bakersfield?
Well, not only from a position change. I started out as a park superintendent where I was involved highly in the day-to-day operation stuff, but all the way up to a director now. But in the focus of what we do, in our parks division, which is our largest division by far, we have over 60 parks out there, and the maintenance and the upkeep is monumental. The staff do a phenomenal job out there every day, and so trying to keep up with those needs, and then also on our recreation side, some of the new and creative programming stuff that we're offering, and really trying to hit that market. We're not sort of that pay to play type environment. We're trying to provide opportunities for everybody in all throughout the city. So we're trying to not retrofit, but make accessible areas in our parks for all these different activities. One of them we're working on right now is we're trying to find a facility for a cricket field.
Cricket, okay.
Yeah. So we've expanded. When I first started, nobody had ever heard of pickleball. Pickleball is crazy now.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of tennis court conversions from tennis to pickleball. So the sports have evolved, the times have changed, and one of the things that we in Parks and Recreation have seen, because of the baby boomers, you can sort of follow baby boomers through recreation. Like let's say the 80s and 90s, adults softball was huge. That was everything. And then it sort of went into golf and tennis as they got a little bit older. And then as they got a little bit older, pickleball took over. So you sort of can see the baby boomers going through, and that's sort of the beacon, some of the adjustments we make for our programming in sports.
No, that's really cool. And also just to kind of be able to adjust and adapt to everybody and everything. And you talk about, maybe the baby boomers who are playing pickleball, but there's a lot of young kids. My daughter's a teenager, and she was talking about playing pickleball. I'm like, wait, what? I was like, how old are you again? I think what you guys do with Rec and Parks, probably, the things that you guys out there, I think a lot of people see the things that Rec and Parks are doing more than anything else, because you drive down the street, you see the park, you see somebody out there, you see, playing pickleball, playing basketball or whatever, and now potentially playing cricket.
Yes, yeah. Well, and that's one of the exciting things about Parks and Recreation is we truly serve people. We always joke about it from cradle to grave. From our mothers in preschool, and all of our different programs, all the way to our senior program. So we are literally serving the public all the way through all ages, and it's exciting. Has its challenges, but it is exciting.
Like I said, you guys always have something going on. I mentioned Riverwalk getting new playground equipment, and that project is going to go through the end of June, hopefully be ready by the 4th of July. That is the plan. That is the goal, correct?
That is the goal. I've tasked staff with having that thing ready to go by July 4th. That's why we jumped on it right now. We were able to get, we leaned on our supplier, said, hey, we need to have it here. They got the equipment here. So that's why we went ahead and closed, and we're moving on it now. Yeah, no, that's definitely a great goal. And recently we were at Wilson Park. You guys added fencing around that playground, but then also at Wilson Park, you talk about pickleball, you're adding new pickleball courts out there, basketball courts. What else are you guys doing? Because you guys always have something going on.
What are some of the big projects people need to know about?
Well, I would say Wilson, the courts and the fence out there are a couple of the big ones, the Park Riverwalk. And then on top of that, we just had a community meeting. We're getting ready to enter into construction on Anton Giovanni Park out in the southwest, just south of Miller Elementary School. We recently got approved at council to start the design on two new parks, Alondra Park and Herschel Moore Park. Those are going to be some nice additions to our parks in the Southwest. One big one that hasn't got a lot of fanfare, but we're pretty excited about is Mesa Marin. We got 4 fields that just finished up, and we'll be opening those here in July and August, and that's going to be a big attraction. We constantly get asked, these softball teams, girls softball, youth baseball, they want to have these tournaments with 50, 60 teams, but you can't do that on a 4-field complex. We're going to now position City of Bakersfield in a unique position to attract those types of tournaments, and the economic impact of those things is phenomenal. So we're really excited to see that thing get opened here. Like I said, in the middle of summer, late summer, we'll start attracting. We already got managers wanting to rent the facility for weekends for this. The school district, we've worked out a partnership with BHS for them to go up there and use the facility in a short term while they're having some construction on their field. So it's a great partnership.
Yeah, I go up to Mesa Marin. It's the closest park to me. I take my dog out there to the dog park.
Oh, yeah.
And that's my favorite dog park because you have the lighting so we can stay a little bit longer. And the new baseball fields are like literally right there, like right across from the parking lot. So I've gradually seen it kind of like okay, all right, when's this going to happen? Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm looking forward to just kind of seeing the final product and being able to get out there and kind of like see those stands filled, see those kids out there playing. That'll be a fun one. That'll be really cool.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's unique, and Bakersfield should be proud of some of the things that we have. When you really look around at our sports complexes, we have some phenomenal sports complexes. You talk about Era Park, which we have, I believe it's 11 baseball fields ran by Bakersfield Southwest Baseball. We just recently, in the last couple of years, opened up 5 football fields side by side. With Golden Empire, we have a huge soccer complex with AYSL at the Sports Village. So we have some phenomenal sports complexes that are very attractive for our community.
Yeah, no, and it's not even like just the facilities, but you guys are always offering kind of cool different programming. Like we have swim season coming up, so you guys are going to be offering swim lessons. There's just even open swim out there. One of the things you guys were offering over at Silver Creek was like clogging. I was like, wait, what is going on here? But as I mentioned, you guys just kind of always adapting. You guys are always providing different programs and services and whatnot. And I'd probably say you guys are probably like the most popular of all the departments within the city of Bakersfield.
Well, we often say we're the best department in the city of Bakersfield, but don't let anybody on the
No,
rest of the city hear that.
we will. Hopefully, nobody else is listening. We have literally thousands of people listening to this podcast right now. But no,
we do have an opening in our bonsai class if you're interested in that. We have bonsai.
We're talking about the trees like from Karate Kid, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I may need to go out there and work on my bonsai skills. So that'd be cool. That's awesome. What other program do you guys have going on?
I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't say something about our park ranger program. It's been a huge success. We've had some I'll call them successes here lately. With recently we had a autistic child got lost at Beach Park, and our rangers were the ones that went and found them. So it's not we're not just sports. We're not parks. We have the rangers. We truly serve the community in lots of different ways.
Yeah, let's talk about the Rangers for a moment, because I feel like since the inception of the Ranger program, like you go to the parks and you can tell a difference. Like you can literally see the difference that Rangers are making. But even like I've gone to parks and I'm just going, as a casual, just local resident citizen. And I'll talk to people, and people will say, "Oh, like I need to report something." I was like, "Call the Rangers. The Rangers are great. Mm-hmm. Call the number." But some people rave about the Ranger program. Like it has been such a huge thing for the city of Bakersfield for rec and parks. Like that is probably visually, tangibly, one of the biggest differences you can see that has been made with a program that we have installed in the last couple of years.
It's funny you say that because I just had a conversation with my physical therapist this morning. We were talking about the Rangers, and that's one thing that he mentioned. He goes, have you guys ever had a program that was such widely accepted as a Ranger program? I said, no. Everybody loved the Rangers, the things they've done. What's been a bit of a challenge for us, because we originally tasked them with the security and stuff in the parks. Well, they've done a phenomenal job. We've had to reinvent and reprioritize them. We now have bike patrols with the Rangers. They provide security at special events, boots in the parks. They're out there all the time. So yeah, they're doing career fairs at schools, and so they're actively engaged in the community on a daily basis. The Rangers out there are amazing. Just the things that they do, the communication they provide to. I don't care if it's somebody who needs assistance with housing or somebody who is lost. Our Rangers do everything, and that's truly what they were set up to be. Is when we first envisioned them, we've been trying to get park rangers for about 15 years now. And when we envisioned them, as park ambassadors. We weren't looking for truly an enforcement, but an ambassador to go out there and help educate people. Here's the rules, here's the thing, and just provide for a better facility that everybody could use. And they've definitely hit the mark on that.
Yeah, every time I run into a ranger, and they're like some of the best people. They're just like good people. They're like, you have a conversation with them. It's just like, we're just we're chewing the fat, just like hanging out there. I mean, obviously they're just normal people, but I mean, they just, when you look at that kind of, they are so personable. Mm-hmm. That obviously helps when they're dealing with people in the parks or, wherever they're coming across somebody. And that's a good representation for the city as well. They're just good ambassadors for the city.
Exactly. And when we started the program, we were worried, because we were like, what kind of candidates we're going to get? And it was a tough decision. We literally had hundreds of applications of very qualified people that wanted to come and be part of this program because they saw the positive side of it. It's not full-blown law enforcement, so they have some enforcement, but there's that community outreach, that connecting, being part of these programs, connecting with the kids and the families that I know they all appreciate.
Yeah, no, and I like I said, I've talked to a couple of rangers, and you have rangers giving out stickers to kids. You have a couple of rangers, probably most of them just carry water around just in case it gets a little too warm. They're handing out water to people, and I'm like, you talk about above and beyond. Yeah, I'm sure they were hired to do one specific job, but then they go above that. They go beyond. And it kind of goes back to what you mentioned earlier about Rec and Parks. Kind of, you're not just doing the minimum. Mm-hmm. And everybody sees that, and everybody is very appreciative of the job and the work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, and especially with our staff each year, we talk about how do we reinvent ourselves this year? What do we have to adapt? What's the recent trends? How to, from using QR codes in our parks for tree identification, we got a lot of unique things that are going on there that staff bring forward and say, here, let's do this, let's try that. And so, yeah, it's exciting. It's not routine. It's not rinse and repeat for us every single year. It's like, okay, where are we going now? So it's exciting.
Where are we going now? Where are we going next? Darin, I appreciate you taking a few minutes here. I know you're always busy. Sounds like you guys always got something going on. And
we do.
Darin, I appreciate your time very much. Thank you for stopping by. Get better. Heal out that broken arm there. Whatever's wrong with it, whatever you got going on.
A couple more months, we'll be back.
Couple more months. Okay, all right. Once you hit your 2-year mark,
yes,
we will know that. Again, Darin, thank you very much for coming by. Appreciate that. Have a good one.
All right, thank you.
So everybody listening, thank you very much for listening to the Something Better podcast. My name is Eric Galvan. Remember, subscribe, follow us on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everything, YouTube, everywhere. Follow us, like us, leave a comment. Thank you all very much. Have a good one.